My name is Deja, and I hope you find serenity.
I hope you find serenity. I hope you find serenity.
Peace and greetings, y'all. Welcome back. My name is Deja, and thank you so much for being here. Today, we are going to chat about shadow work. What it is, how you do it, why you do it, and maybe you're here and you already know what shadow work is and you just want to hear more about it, or potentially you're working on it, so you're searching for more guidance or more support. Or maybe you clicked this video because you have no idea what shadow work is and you're here to figure it out. So you're in the right place. You are welcome here in this present moment. So thank you for being here. I'm going to talk about shadow work, looking at it through basically three aspects. I'm going to split it up into three aspects of shadow work. There's so much more to know, more to learn about the self. But here we're going to talk about three aspects to doing shadow work. So, first of all, what is shadow work? So, what is a shadow? Think about yourself, right? And when you're walking, when light is shining on you, then you create a shadow, right? You create a shadow, and a shadow is, in a sense, a part of you, a reflection of you, and it's a reflection of the darkest part of you. You know, shadows are like, they're black, or they're almost opaque. You know, they're like, your shadow is. So when we're talking about doing shadow work, when we think of our shadows, the opposite of a shadow is a gift, to give you some perspective. So we all have shadows, and a shadow is intrinsically connected to its opposite, which is a gift. If you know anything about gene keys, I highly recommend doing some research. I am no expert, but I've been, looking into it for myself, and I have some close friends who are really into gene keys and have been teaching me a lot. So in gene keys, there are 64 gene keys. It's similar to a way to study the self, like astrology or numerology. So with gene keys, there are 64 gene keys, and that's like the container that every single human being is experiencing, these 64 gene keys, but we have a specific chart, like specific ones that are really like present within us. And for example, with each key, there is a shadow, a gift, and a city. And the city is like the overall essence of the thing. So to give an example of how a shadow also has a gift, and that even in itself, the negative and the positive also still has the wholeness to it, which is the essence, the city. So for example, my main gene key, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's my life purpose one. The shadow is doubt. The gift is inquiry. And the city is truth. All right? So when I'm in my shadow state, I'm doubting. And doubt can look like me doubting myself, or I can be doubting other people. Everything we're doing with shadow work, which I'll share more about, it's like we're doing it with ourselves, but also once you do it with yourself, you also then, of course, practice it on the reflections, on the other humans that you interact with. And that's a very important aspect to it. So yeah, the shadow is doubt. The gift is inquiry. What's inquiry? To be inquisitive, to ask questions, to be curious, to want to know. And that helped me to break open my shadow. Because it's really important here. When we're looking at shadow work, like, we're not looking at what's wrong with me. It's not just about that. Of course, it's like, some of it's like, yeah, what are the things that you need to work on? But also like, it's meant to empower you, not to make you feel small, not to make you feel like you're not worthy because you have shadows, like we all do. It's really to empower you so that you can know yourself, so that you can also know what you are emitting onto the earth and be intentional. Like, is this who you want to be? Is this how you want to be? Because you really can't choose. So yeah, when I'm in my doubt state, in my shadow state, I'm in doubt. And in my gift state, I'm in inquiry, which means studying, searching, researching, asking, seeking to know, seeking to understand. Because when I'm understanding, I'm not doubting. You know what I mean? And this is just one example. There's 64 of these. And then the city of this gene key is truth. So ultimately, whether I'm doubting or I'm in my inquiry, I'm being inquisitive, either way, what I'm truly wanting to connect to with that energy is the truth. The truth. And that is so liberating for me. So that's just to give y'all an example of what a shadow might be. Maybe one of your shadows is that you have a lot of self-doubt, okay? And self-doubt can start a plethora of ways. A part of what I do with my inner child healing workshops and one-on-one sessions with folks is we discuss in depth how certain shadows came about based on our childhood experience, you know? So inner child healing is very much a form of shadow work. And me doing shadow work is what led me to inner child healing, which is now like my whole world is revolving around healing my inner child and helping other people to heal their inner child, because it's like the core to all of this. So, yeah, shadows are things about ourselves that ultimately they don't really serve our betterment, okay? They are things that everyone experiences some form of being in the shadow state at times, but it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant experience to be in doubt. You know what I mean? And when you have this understanding of self, understanding of shadows, and you've done the shadow work, you've actually reflected to take the time to look at yourself, because a lot of times people don't even know what their shadows are. People a lot of times don't even... Sometimes you don't know, all right? Some people can be a bit unaware. I've been there, you know. There was times, especially when I was younger, like I wasn't aware of certain things that I did until I started to like really reflect. And sometimes reflection comes from people telling you about yourself. Sometimes it comes from you being triggered by someone. Ya está bien. You done? She not done. I don't even remember what I was saying, girl. Okay, y'all. So yes, a lot of times people don't even know what their shadows are. Sometimes things have to be reflected to us. For example, when we are triggered. So an example for me is sometimes I would feel like when my mom was, you know, yelling at me or telling me whatever it was that I did to upset her at the time, like she would like talk so much. Like I felt like that. And then as I went into reflection, I also saw within my relationships, I'm like, sometimes that's me. Like I talk a lot. And so now when I experience this quality in other people and I don't like it, rather than judge them right off the bat, I'm instead like, I don't like that. Do I do that? Do I do that to other people? And not even judging them either, but just experiencing it and feeling like, oh, that's not really a pleasant experience when it feels like it's imbalanced. The conversation is imbalanced and one person is getting a lot more space to share than the other person. Like that doesn't feel good to me when I'm on the receiving end. So now I'm more intentional when I'm, you know, on the giving end, when I'm communicating with people, when I'm, you know, having those back and forths, I'm extra mindful of that. So yeah, that's just an example. I'm literally a little bit off my train because the angel was just doing a lot. Not to even blame you, because you're perfect and it must have been needed. I think it's just time to move past this. Hopefully y'all understood my brief explanation of what it is. And I will add that it's not always easy. It's not always as easy as you think. It could be that you notice a pattern that you don't like and you change it, but maybe a trigger comes up again and you revert to old ways. All right, so that can happen too. But again, it's important to give ourselves grace. Just having the awareness is a big step forward, a big step in the right direction. And yeah, so I want to talk about 3 aspects of doing shadow work. All right, so it's going to be the 3 F's, y'all. Facing yourself, forgiving yourself, and freeing yourself. Facing, forgiving, and freeing. So facing yourself is kind of what I was just saying. It's like look at yourself. Look at what you do. Look at how you treat people. Look at how you respond. Look at how you react. Look about. Look about. And more than ever, look at the things that you think you don't like about yourself. Look at the things you feel that you don't like. Are there things, if I say, is there anything that you don't like about yourself? Does anything come up for you? Is there anything, ask yourself, is there anything that I don't like about myself? And just reflect on it. And I want to just bring in, there's so much love when we do this work. Sometimes you might cry. Sometimes you might feel bad when you're doing this work because there might be stuff there that needs to be seen. Stuff that's been living in you that hasn't been seen, hasn't been acknowledged. It's time to acknowledge yourself. Face yourself. Look at yourself. How do you feel? How do you feel about your physical? How do you feel about your mental? How do you feel about your spiritual? Do you feel connected to spirit? Do you feel connected to something beyond just what you can touch? No judgment, just asking. You know, how do you feel? Look at yourself. Face yourself. What patterns are showing up in your life? This is an important one, y'all. What patterns do you notice in your life? Do you find yourself reliving the same patterns over and over again? Take a look at those patterns. Are there some of them that aren't serving you? Are there some of them that don't feel good? Are there some of them that you're done with? Maybe not. Maybe you love all your patterns, all your cycles, and that's great. But still, you take a look, right? You take count, right? You take a look at your life and you see, is this the life I want to live? Am I being who I want to be? Because you have to remember that there's so much choice here on earth. There's so much choice. Don't ever let nobody make you think there ain't a choice. All right? Freedom. We're going to talk about freedom. All right? But we have to face ourselves. Facing ourselves sometimes comes up, like I said before, through other people who seem like an other. But the truth is, the same breath in my body is the breath in everyone else's body. It's the breath of spirit, the breath of life. That is what connects us. Okay? So anybody who I'm interacting with, they are just as worthy. They are just as divine as I am. And I take heed to that. It doesn't mean of course, socially, we're not going to deeply connect with everybody, okay? We don't have to love on everybody. We don't have to touch everybody, all these things. There's too many bodies out there. But I'm just saying, like, if somebody comes into my life and is showing me something that makes me feel something, makes me feel bad, makes me feel angry, makes me feel upset, moves things within me, I need to take a moment to look at, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? What do I feel? Where did this come from? How do I want to respond? Do I want to experience this again? What can I learn from this? Facing ourselves in an honest way. In an honest way. In a compassionate way, but in an honest way. Sometimes when I'm referring with the inner child, like sometimes facing ourselves looks like, is there anything that I've done that was hurtful? Because, we all get hurt. We all have been hurt before. But also, have you hurt others? How have you hurt others? How have you hurt others? Have you, and how have you? Okay, my phone's going to die, so I need to go grab the portable charger, and then we're going to move on. All right, y'all. So, the 3 F's to shadow work. First was facing ourselves. All right. The next is forgiving ourselves. All of these here I wrote ourselves because it's inner work that you have to do for yourself. But like I said before, this, of course, needs to roll over and be how you are with others as well, right? But it do start with the self. And what I left off on is a perfect segue into this. Have you ever caused harm? In what ways have you caused harm? Did you seek reparation? Did you ever ask for forgiveness? Were you honest? Is there anything that you need to forgive yourself for? And that can be as far as how you've treated others, but also how have you been treating yourself? I have to forgive myself for so much. I have to forgive myself for times when my spirit told me clearly how to move. And I chose out of addiction and out of unconsciousness to move a different way. And I've had to forgive myself because I've hurt myself more than anyone else. This is a part of shadow work. Is there anything you need to forgive yourself for, deep in your heart? Are you ready to forgive yourself? Ways that you can do this, it takes time. But it ain't got to take a lot of time. But it do take intention, focus. Sit down with yourself. Sit down with yourself. Write it out, sing it out, cry it out, dance it out. Move it out, physically even. And when we've caused harm to ourselves or others, once we bring this awareness to it, having the love for ourselves to be willing to choose better moving forward. This can be hard if we've created habits. If we've created habits where we harm ourselves or others, and there's never any reparation for the harm caused, we can start to think this is just what life is. Hamster on a wheel. We just think this is life. I hurt and I get hurt. Nah. Really sitting with yourself. Is there anything I need to forgive myself for? And taking the time to do it. Write it out. Journal it out. Speak it out. If you don't like to journal, get your phone and talk to yourself. Put on the voice notes. And talk it out. There are things that maybe are living inside of us that we don't even let leave our bodies. Secrets being held, grudges, resentments, abuse, pain being held inside of our bodies. We gotta... Taking care of ourselves means we have to forgive ourselves so that we can move forward and be better. And forgiveness is real, y'all. It does sometimes take time. Maybe you feel like you've forgiven yourself and then you remember again and you start to feel bad again and you need to forgive yourself again. Over and over again. And by doing this, now when it comes time to forgive others, it's a lot easier. We have a lot more compassion because we've acknowledged our own shit. So now when we see other people's shit, we're not so quick to say, oh, they're just a bad person. The fuck is a bad person? Excuse my language to the young folks watching. What is a bad person? I understand your mind is about to immediately try to think of a bad person. And I don't even want to get too deep into this. I just want to say it's all energy, okay? Everyone is capable of love, of being love, of giving love, of receiving love. Everyone is capable. What they choose is their free will. But everyone is capable of being love, being compassion. Anyways, Forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves first allows it to be easier to forgive others. And we do got to forgive others now, them others. Because remember, the illusion of separation, we're all connected. So if I'm holding a grudge or resentment against you for anything, it could be the worst thing. It could be the worst possible thing my mind could conceive of. But if I hold on to it, that is bad for my health. That's going to take away from my vibrancy. That's going to stop me from living in my gifts. Because I'm too busy energetically holding that. And on top of it, I can attract more of it because I'm holding it. Imagine this right here. Can you see this energy ball? I feel it. I know you see it. Okay? This right here is a grudge. This is a grudge, a resentment that I'm holding towards someone who may have done something awful to me by my mind standards. And yet I'm still here, so it couldn't have been that bad. But if I'm holding that right here, even if I'm not always looking at it, even if I'm not always acknowledging it, but if I'm holding it, first of all, I'm already heavier. I'm walking around with this shit on my chest. And now, as soon as something else that even slightly looks like this, I experience it or face it, it touches this and it, that's a trigger. Now it's even bigger. Now my wound is bust open. But when I take the time to take this and say, I forgive you. Then I'm free. Then I'm light. Then the next time that comes to me, oh, I recognize you. It's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you already. I forgive you for me. And of course, it's ultimately going to help you too. Because I'm also not projecting bad energy onto this person because they hurt me. And now I'm in this weird, because when we're sending energy to someone, it's an exchange. So I don't want to be in this weird exchange where I'm sending you this negative energy. Like, you hurt me so bad. I hate you so much. I'll never be okay again because of what you did. I'll never speak to you again. I'll never love again. Whatever it is, whatever that story is, you put that out, it's coming right back. It's just, whew. So instead, I forgive you. I forgive myself. I forgive you. I forgive myself. I forgive you. And I forgive myself. Ah, it feels so good. I feel good in this moment. The last F, y'all. The final F is free yourself. Shadow work will free you. It will give you freedom. Freedom. What does it mean to you to be free? Do you feel free? If you don't feel free, there's probably some more to do. I was about to say work to do, but I don't want y'all to think it's all, that this work is always what we think of work. It's not like going to a 9-to-5 in a place that you don't even like. Nah. This is doing the work of like cleaning, cleansing. After you clean your space, you feel better, right? Now the space is clean, and the space is clean for you and everybody else who walk in that space. That's why you need to keep it cleaned up. Keep all this internal stuff, keep it cleaned up. Check in. Dust everything off. You might need to do a deep scrub, all right? You might need to really get clean, like really, and release. When I clean the house, I also get rid of stuff. Give things away, let things go. Do the deep cleaning. Organize, look through everything. Do I need this? I don't even need this no more. Why I got this here, holding this in my heart, in my being, in my energy, when I can let it go. Clear it out. Clear it out. And that's freedom. Now we're not weighed down by everything. And a lot of times, We live so much in the distractions that we are not even aware that there's any shadow work to do. We can be living in a world where we're just on go all the time, distraction, 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 distraction. And there's no time where I'm ever like, what about me? Am I really happy? Or am I just numbing myself through life? When I sit down alone, sober, how do I feel about myself? How do I feel about my life? And this ain't to make us heavy, y'all. This is to liberate us, make us light again. And whenever we're feeling heaviness, it's good to acknowledge it. Like, oh, I'm holding on to a lot right now. I'm holding on to something. It's time to let that go. It's time to let that go. I'm feeling heavy. What can I do to let it go? What can I do to let this go? All right? So many ways to reconnect with your freedom. You free yourself by healing yourself and by educating yourself. And I don't mean educating yourself by Western standards. I mean being truly curious, inquisitive, asking questions, reading, listening, observing. Go outside, be in nature, and it'll all just come to you. You can literally write down on a paper, how can I free myself? And then just turn everything off. Get quiet and listen. Listen. The answers are in here. The serenity's already in here. I always talk about find serenity. My whole thing is I hope you find serenity. It's you. You are serenity. I hope you find yourself again. I hope you find and recognize and remember your serenity within. And that's what shadow work can do for us. With that, I feel so complete. If you are interested in delving in, doing some shadow work, and you need guidance, you need support, I offer one-on-one inner child healing sessions. I also occasionally offer group workshops, which I always post about on my Instagram. I hope you find serenity. So please go follow me there. And if you're interested in booking an inner child session, go to my website, ihopeyouFindSerenity.com, and go to services and see which one feels right for you. You can send me an email at ihopeyouFindSerenity@gmail.com if you have any other inquiries. Thank you for listening.
Hope you find serenity.